Sitting with me is Jeff Swinoga, CEO and Director of a story that we know quite well, exploits discovery. Welcome back into the seats of CEO.
Great. Well, thanks, Rachel. Honestly, you're doing a great job, and I love watching your material.
Thank you very much. So let's talk about context setting. We understand you're in Newfoundland, Canada. The area that you're in has two targets or two deposits, Bullseye and Gazebo. So before we talk specifically about them, why is it significant for exploits to be in this area? What are you looking for?
Yeah, well, great. Well, thanks for stepping back, because some of the investors are new to our story. So we've been around for about 4 years, but we're able to stake and actually acquire a lot of property around Newfound Gold. Newfound Gold is a fantastic company, $500 million, very successful in terms of discovering gold along this Appleton fault. And so we're there are only two players now. The other company actually sold their property to Newfound, so it's only us and them. And so we've been successful ourselves. As you mentioned, we were able to stake two great properties. One's called Bullseye along this Appleton fault, and one's called Gazebo, much larger property, 8 kilometers. And so we got a great team in Gander, Newfoundland. It's beautiful, to be in a province like that, and it's just a great jurisdiction, very supportive government, and we've been drilling. We've had 2 gold discoveries so far on our Bullseye property. And then, so that's great. We got 5 more drill results to report on. But Gazebo is becoming more important because it's such a large property and everything's going north.
Now, when we look back at, when I was doing some research, Newfound Gold is a key part of Exploits' story, and emulating their success is one thing that you're focused on. What about your team on the ground makes that possible?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, to follow something, to a company like Newfound, like they've been drilling for like 6 years now, right? Had the huge discovery, 90 grams over 20 meters. And we've actually learned a lot from what they've done. We've done our own work, and we can talk more about that. But they've kind of laid out the framework. Because when they started drilling, no one knew how these splays and where the gold kind of was on this Appleton fault. It's like the early days of the Abitibi, the Cadillac break. So I kind of call them our big brother, because they've actually kind of laid the pathway. And the fact that we've got claims just north of them and in between them actually is great. And the team on the ground has been fantastic. Like they're all local, they're all passionate. They want to work in their home province. So they've been, and actually a lot of the work we've done is actually bringing in outside experts too, though. People from Australia, like Dr. David Groves, we put him on retainer for a year or two, and he's been very successful, 80-year-old gentleman. We call him Mr. Orogenic or Dr. Orogenic because he's the one that coined the term orogenic gold. So he's been great from a regional perspective. And what he discovered is that there's a lot of cross faults going through our property on this Appleton fault, because the model the exploration model is that anytime you have parallel faults in a region, these faults tend to churn against each other or shift, right? And it creates openings for fluid to come up and deposit minerals like gold. And so that's great. But once you have cross faults going through, you actually create much more openings, and you create blowouts. And this is what they've seen in Australia. And this is what we see in the Keats discovery for Newfound. That's a classic parallel fault, cross fault going through it, 070 type of discovery. And what we've now seen with our LiDAR, our MAG, and also Dr. David Grove's work is that we've got 3 cross faults going through our Gazebo property. So right now we got some drill results on Bullseye, but Gazebo's looking really good.
It's something to watch.
Something to watch, yeah.
What do you want to tell investors who are watching, who may be kind of losing patience on the share price? Because obviously it's been wild swings, right?
Yeah, and I did an interview where we talked about persistence and making sure that you're doing the work on the ground, right? And that's so important, right? Because you're never not sure what's happening to the market, what's happening to the gold price, what's happening to your neighbors, and so, for example. But for us, I mean, the fact that we've got these great claims on the early days of Abitibi, we've been drilling our Bullseye. Gazebo's a much bigger property, like I said, 8 kilometers, so we need to get to Gazebo. So it's really about staying in the game and actually, Eric says we're 1 drill hole away from $1 or $2, things like that.
Eric is one of your larger shareholders, right?
And I should have mentioned early on that, not only do we have these great properties in Newfoundland, but, Eric owns 14% of our company, Eric Sprott. We've got $5 million in cash. So we're always trying to stay well capitalized. And a great team on the ground, great board. So hopefully we got all the ingredients to be successful. And that's really the key. Making sure that we can have the highest probability of success. And to have a neighbor like Newfound, for example, who's coming out with a resource in early Q2 this year, and then a PEA, this is the first time, this is actually going to be huge news. This is the first time that you're going to have a company with a resource on the Appleton Fault, right? So far, if you look at Newfoundland, the Valentine Fault, you have Marathon, Calibre, and others doing well. Now we're talking about the Appleton Fault, which is maybe the next fault that's going to get all the attention, right? So this is going to be very exciting. We've got our own organic news, with the till samples we have at Gazebo, the new drill results coming out for Bullseye. But the neighborly news, if you want to call it, is Newfound coming out with these resource and PEA. So that's going to be great.
What kind of, we were talking earlier about being in the shadows of Newfound and following and emulating their success. What is coming up for exploits that investors should watch for in the light of the developments with your neighbors?
Yeah, so I would say stay tuned for our latest drill results. Stay tuned for more work to be done on Gazebo. The key thing is that we're going to be talking more about how the model fits Gazebo, in terms of, like we talked about, blowouts along this Appleton Fault. So watch out for more news on that going forward. So stay tuned with Newfound's results, our results. I think we're kind of in it together, you know what I'm saying? From a valuation perspective, our market cap is roughly $7-8 million right now, with $5 million in cash, with a neighbor that's a $500 million with a resource and PEA coming out. So we're deeply valued, if you want to call it, from that perspective. So so stay tuned.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you. Yeah.